everybody. Welcome back. We are still in the first objective here. We are finding slope. However, we're going to move on and switch gears because I'm going to find the slope when given 2 points on the line. So we can see here in number 7, this is a point that's on the line, and this is a separate point that's on the line. And actually, I see something that's going to happen here in number 7. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to 8. And we'll come back to 7, because 7's got an issue that we want to talk about. Here in 8, again, these 2 points are on the line. So if I were to graph that, and I don't need you to write this part down, if we were to graph this point, I'd have to come all the way out here, and do this. So negative 18, negative 8 would be a point right around here, and negative 14, 6 would be right here. And then what we're going to try to do is somehow connect those dots like we did in the first section, and then try to do rise over run out of that. You can see immediately with this first example I chose, that's going to be pretty challenging. In fact, that's going to be so tough, I don't even think I could do it that way. So we want a different option. Rise over run looked great when we were talking about a graph. However, now that we've moved on a little bit, let's switch gears and remember that slope is, again, change in y over change in x. So what that is y minus y over x minus x. And we're going to apply that right here. Remembering that our coordinates are always y's and x's. We can do this a couple of different ways, but I think the easiest will be to just substitute into that formula. So we can take our formula and subtract. Y, so 6 minus 8 over x minus x. Notice how I kept that minus sign right here and right here because that's part of the formula. Then, because it was minus a negative, I'm going to clean that up, or just use my calculator. I'm going to write it out cleaned up and say that's plus 18, or plus 8, I'm sorry. That's plus 8, and negative 14 plus 18. And then we can go ahead and simplify that. We're going to have 14 over 4. And that will simplify, again, we can use our calculator, or we can just know how to simplify a fraction. And that's going to simplify to 7 over 2. And right there's my process of writing slope. Let's try that again, because this can get a little complex. So in 10, I'm going to shorten it up a little bit, because I'm going to just subtract my y values. So I'm going to do negative 2 minus 17 over negative 13 minus negative 12. You see how I write that minus sign twice. Now let's clean it up. I'm going to have negative 19 over 7. And when I plug that in my calculator just to check, this is actually already in simplest form. So we can see immediately, done with slope. Right there it is. Now, we did get on number 7 here. You can see I paused for a second because I realized this was going to give us a problem. And I'm able to tell that just by looking at it because I've had some experience, obviously, in math. But for you guys, we're going to have to remember that there are two more types of lines. So let's come back to this page of notes here. You can see Again, slope-intercept form, we'll need that at some point. Slope-intercept forms an equation. The general formula for slope is rise over run, change in y over change in x. What I'm actually concerned with here is down here when we spoke about positive and negative slopes, we forgot, or not forgot, but held on to the fact there's two more possibilities for a line to exist. So I'm going to write this out, and then we're going to try to come up with it. So, what are the other possibilities to have a line here? We've had our positive, we had our negative slopes. How else could my line look? Well, it could go straight across like this. Not up, not down, just straight horizontally. Or it can go straight up and down. Like that, vertically. Well, it turns out that each of these has a unique name. The slope of the horizontal line has a 0 slope. While the up and down line is undefined. The reason on the left that it's a 0 slope is because the y value is always going to be 0. So as I change and do my slope formula, the top of my fraction will always be 0 over some number. And we know from grade school that this means my answer is always going to be 0. When I come over here, let me just put this so it's a little bit brighter for you all. Remember, 0 over a number. That's my slope. Okay, now when I come over to the undefined slope, it's the x values that don't change. So x minus x is always 0, and it's just going to be a number divided by 0, which we know also from grade school, that's not allowed. That's an undefined number, hence the name undefined. Well, what happened? What did I see in number 7 here that alerted me that something was going to happen? Well, that something was that these two numbers were the same. So I knew some point in my formula I was going to get a 0. So let's try that out now. Now that we've had a couple, let's go ahead and look. And let's put it right here so we can follow the same pattern. And we're going to do y minus y, so that's 3 minus, let's put that so we can see a little better. That's going to be 3 minus 20 over, here's my x, it's negative 2 minus negative 2. And we can see that it's going to give me negative 17 over 0. And that right there tells me, wait a minute, that slope is undefined. If it was 0 over negative 17, that would be a slope of 0. All right, let's take a look at the next page here. And as you can see, the last two are also additionally just find the slope of these points. I'm going to do one more for you. That way we can kind of go through it just one more time. But in this type, I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to find the slope formula, but in this case, I'm going to remember that I'm going to subtract two values. So I'm actually going to show my substitution this time. And that way you guys can visually see what I'm really doing. So here's my y values, and these can substitute it in. Y minus 1. Here's my x values. Like so. This we can type into our calculator and the answers however we want, but I'm going to get negative 32 over 20. And let's refresh our memory on the calculator. I do want to start using this calculator a little more in class. So in order to get that to a simplified fraction, let's go ahead and type it in. Negative 32 divided by 20. 1.6, math, enter. And right there is my solution, negative 8 over 5. You'll want to be able to do that. That's a very important tool of getting simplified fractions. But remember that negative 32 over 20 becomes negative 8 over 5. We'll go ahead and write that. Like so. Okay, so once we get through this section, we can see starting with 13, now something has changed again. So again, let's pause for a moment, finish the problems I just did not do for you, and then we'll move on when you're ready to part 3 of this video, which will be let's deal with these equations now. Good luck.